Traditionally, businesses have found new leads at trade shows, but in 2026, that model is changing. Fewer business owners can justify the expense of exhibiting or attending trade shows in expensive cities around the world when that money could go to the ever-increasing cost of doing business. That's where we come in. Advertising on our podcast gives you a way to reach a niche audience of coffee business owners and professionals across the entire value chain, no matter where they are in the world. Our advertisers have reported generating leads from their very first ads, and podcast advertising on a Map It Forward podcast lasts forever as new audiences discover our 1,500 plus catalogue of episodes that reaches farther than a single trade show ever could. We offer 3 flexible pricing structures and accept payment in US dollars or select cryptocurrencies. We'll work closely with you to create and tailor the ad so you don't have to stress about anything. Our pricing is very reasonable and targeted to give smaller businesses in the Map It Forward community the opportunity to reach a large audience. If you're ready to amplify your brand's voice and connect with the right people, and you share Map It Forward's brand values, email us at support@mapitforward.org or DM us on social media. Check the show notes for all the details, and let's conspire to each other's success today. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Brazilian coffee agronomist Jonas. We are talking about the 2026 Brazilian coffee harvest, and in this episode we are specifically talking about what the expectations of the 2026 harvest is in Brazil. So Jonas, tell us everything.
Lee, one thing that interesting that we saw in the last years, it's how Canephora, the robusta, grow in area, is not in area, but in yields. There's a lot of technology involved in growing Canephoras in Brazil. I said Canephoras always because in Brazil we have 2 types of Canephoras. One is robusta, that's grow worldwide, and another one is conilon, which is it's not a variety. It's hard to explain. It's like a different type. The fruits is a little bit different. The yields is different too. The plant shape is different, but they both are Canephoras. Worldwide, we know robusta because most of the countries do not grow conilon. They grow robusta, but we saw the conilon expanding in a state that's called Espírito Santo. They use a lot of technology to grow. They have incredible yields, and we saw an average of production that was, let me say, 5 years ago, about that, something about 12 million bags of Canephoras in Brazil, to spike to 24, 25, some people say 27 million bags of Canephora. And they play a very important role in the Brazilian exportation too, because they occupied the arabica that are having issues since 2021, and they could make the market more balanced. We do not export a lot of Canephora, but we can keep this Canephora for domestic market and export the arabicas to, I think, attend the contracts for international buyers. So the Canephora was a surprise. They are like robusta, they're more rustic in growing. They need more water than arabicas, and they usually are grown in lower areas, not high areas as arabica. So, and we are seeing a good season for Canephoras from the next season. Canephoras have another advantage. They do not have the biannual circle, off year and on year. It's very, very small, not like arabica that we have a huge variation usually. the plant behave in a different way of growing, that they could harvest good average season every season in Canephora if they were well managed. So we harvest about 24 million last season, and probably this season we harvest something about that again.
Similar. Wow.
Based on the CONAB data, is the one national institute that do the survey about the yields and areas in Brazil, and we are start to harvest the same. It's still a lot to expand, as we see worldwide how the robusta and canephora grow worldwide in other countries. They start to cultivate more robusta than 20 years ago, for instance, that they are very small in the market share of coffee chain. So we saw this is play an important role in Brazil now. For Arabica, which are a more sensitive species, we saw issues since 2001 with the season. Farmers are striking to survive, fighting to survive in the fields to the climate, dry when we have a drought, frost or cold, or even heat waves, and everything related to climate. It's what is affecting coffee since 2001, after the biggest frost that we had in the recent past. And one thing that's interesting, since there, the market, the traders say everything we're gonna be fine, and we not see that in any way. So coffee need the most Arabica, which are in more sensitive areas in Brazil. They need good climate conditions to survive, to grow, to have good yields. And Arabica, everything that happens in the seasons before affect the current season. So what we are seeing in 2026 is it's kind of a trace of something that happens in 2025. So when people say now we are the rains are gonna push the yields in Brazil to the high levels, they sometimes do not understand we need a good blossom season in September to November in order to have fruits to bear and to how can I say, to the plant bear these fruits until the harvest season. What we have now for Arabicas, we are having a January, February, March with good temperatures and good rain distribution along the Arabica areas, and the volume is great. But because there are seasons that we have good rains, but concentrated in a few days or in a few regions or in a few areas. But for these last 3 months, we saw rain spreading across all the Arabica areas. So the coffee is beautiful there. That means the 2027 could be good if everything goes well, because we have a good vegetative level on the trees until March, which is excellent for the next season. But for the current season, we will see something very close to 2000, what we harvest in 2025, a little bit more, because there is a interesting phenomenon, I think is the right word, in Arabica areas, which I call like islands of productions.
Okay.
Of production. There are places in Arabica areas which we have some plant conditions that push the season to very high yields for many reasons. For instance, if in 2 years ago the farmer how can I say, like cut all the trees in order to have no season 2025. and the plant grow well until 25 and have a beautiful blooming, which is coming since there with a good yields in that area. Young plants which will bring the first season for the farmer, which have about 3 to 4 years, will have some a good yield to be harvested. And areas with the rains were better in November to December, and we not have spikes in temperatures. So there is some islands of yields that when I travel across Minas Gerais or São Paulo, I saw that areas with the plant totally filled with berries, but at, let me say, something about 30 to 40% of the areas that I visit are in that situation. So depending where you look for the arabica area, you could see a huge season, or where you take the data, or who calls you and said how the coffee season is in Brazil. So this island of production kind of mislead. I don't know if it's the right word.
It's misleading.
So that why we should take our eyes in every area. And in average, what I see, it's a season close to 2025, but because of this island of productions in Arabicas, we saw something better than last season. Will be totally better as 2020 season? No, not, because in that time
it's not going to be the record, right?
Yeah, because in that time all the areas was like that. I know because I traveled to some areas and was kind of amazing to see how all the coffee trees were filled with berries almost everywhere, no matter the size, the age of the tree, the state of the tree. Sometimes trees are kind of not healthy enough, but they have a good yields buried by the tree, so was fantastic. The only way that we should say the season will be close to 2020 if we have the wrong numbers in 2020 in that time, because it's not close in terms of plant behavior, yields, and everything. What changed since then? We take the statistics to see. We have more technology in coffee, which is true, but the area of growing, it's almost the same. I saw the statistics was about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We grow less than 10% in area of growing since there. So it's not because of the area was expanding so we could produce more coffee. No, the area is almost the same. We put a little bit more of technology since there, but we had climate issues in 2025, was not perfect. So I think we'll be something close to 2025 and a little bit more.
You're hearing a lot of people whisper out there saying this is going to be a record year, or there's going to be so much coffee out there. And if I understand you correctly, that's not the case. It's going to be a decent harvest, similar to 2025. Will this war have an impact on what happens at harvest? If we connect it back to what we were talking about in the last episode, do we think that the war might stop any of the, is there a potential for this war to mean that coffee might not get out of Brazil? Is it going to be harder to get it to different parts of Brazil? Is there anything that may cause that to be a problem?
I don't think so in terms of logistics, because as a parameter or as a standard, I always think about pandemic. Everyone was worried about logistics of coffee. We have a crisis in containers.
We have that now.
Yeah. Since there, as I know, we still have in this crisis since the pandemic.
Since the pandemic, wow.
Yeah. The containers crisis it's something that world do not is still not put in the trails again since there. But for coffee, because of the pandemic, which I think was the worst crisis in logistics for everything, we do not see any issue related to exportation, not something that we are not already have in Brazil. For instance, one thing that is an issue in Brazil, it's our harbor structure for exportation. For many stuff in Brazil, we are kind of outdated in some stuff to do exportation. So some months, for instance, this is official data from Secafé, the export council of coffee exportation, is something like that in English. They said every month we are having trouble with exportation. We have a lot of coffee that could be exported in this month, but we can't do it because our harbor structure is not well updated to do this amount of coffee that it's already sold. The ships are available, the papers are fine, but we not could
volume is too much and they can't process that
put
much.
The volume on the coffee,
right.
Process and put on the chips, on the ships, on the containers to export. So we are have some kind of I don't know when it's not strangling. I forget the word in English.
Chokehold. It's a choke.
Yeah.
A chokehold.
Yeah, it's a choke. Yeah. So this is already an issue that we should face. So the war in logistics, for now, I don't see, only if we have some issues in Europe to receive or have some issues to receive ships on containers, or we have some issues to that ships to came to Brazil. Like I said, in pandemic, we do not see that for coffee at least. Please. It's like every year, just some small issues, and we have a problem with personnel there because a lot of people can't go to work in the
right late because they can't move around, right?
So because of the pandemic, so people like working in the logistics chain in Brazil, which some have issues with health, other with the age, they can't do, and even there we not have a huge issue with logistics. That's why in the first glance, I think this will be not a huge issue.
At first glance. But if petrol gets very expensive, and if shipping things gets very expensive, this could impact things, right? If farmers aren't getting paid, because where I'm thinking about this from, Jonas, is from, I'm looking at the C price, right? And the C price right now is a little confusing. Are you confused by the C price right now? It keeps going down. It's starting to go up a little bit, but it's still under $3 right now. Do you find that a little confusing for this moment?
For me, always C prices are very confusing. Sometimes more confusing than usual.
Yeah. Right now, people have been very confused the last couple of, let's say the last 6 to 7 weeks, because it was like it was free falling. It wasn't free falling. If you look at it where it is at the moment, it's somewhere around the 290s. But most of last year, it was above $3 and it hit a record price. And, people were saying, let's hope that it stays this high. And every coffee producer that I speak to, Jonas, is telling me it's getting harder and harder and harder to grow arabica everywhere. So why isn't the price continuing to go up? And so people are confused by this. And where I'm confused at the moment is what impact is the war going to have on the next harvest? Because we're almost finished this harvest. We're finished this harvest. Which is it? We're completely finished the 2026 harvest.
And 2025 harvest is already finished.
2026.
At 2026, it's about to begin yet.
It's about to begin. Okay.
Yeah, in Brazil.
In Brazil. Sorry. Yeah. So if energy gets very, very expensive, what ends up happening with regards to this next harvest?
Mm-hmm. It's Brazil. It's like I said, is a particular case for two reasons. Of course, we grow a lot of coffee, but we consume a lot of coffee in domestic market. So it's different for some countries that if they do not export coffee or have some issues with exportation, will be a huge issue for them to deal with that. In Brazil, we drink about more than 20 to 24 million bags of coffee a year, which is a lot.
Yep.
So if some crisis like striking the exportation, we could use a good part of coffee for some time, of course, because we can't drink all the 60 or 55 million of bags. But we could use the coffee for domestic market, as we know for sure that the domestic stocks of coffee are very low since the last 2 years. We do not have a lot of stocks stored in private warehouse.
Yep.
We don't have ways to measure that, but you just go to the farms and some private warehouse to know that there's not coffee from the last season storage there. They are waiting the new harvest to come in order to export. So in the first moment, we have some strategy in case of Brazil to use that coffee for roasting. Maybe the price will be not good, but we not will, I don't know if it's the right term, like stockpile the coffee.
Stockpile, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the way it's Brazil, and I know that, have an important role in the coffee chain for many blends or for many companies. For instance, I talked with a huge company in Brazil, a huge company manager in Brazil. And he said, well, because of this problem with the harbor in Brazil, a company like hire a private ship in order to take the coffee that was delayed to do the exportation by itself. It's not usual to do that because it costs a lot of money to the company.
Yeah.
But they find some way to bring take this Brazilian coffee to exportation. Only if we have like a huge crisis, which we don't know, that will affect all this trade issue. There will be a problem in medium term for Brazil to export that coffee, which could affect the farmer for sure. But we have to understand that at least in Brazil, we have way to store this coffee for more than a year if we need it. The only issue that farmer will still need the money to pay their bills, but they will not lost the money in some way. Farmers in Brazil are it's very usual to store the coffee in the farm. I know some countries, they send to a different like association or cooperatives to store the coffee there. We have that in Brazil too, but all the farmers that went in the last 10 years have conditions to store the coffee in the farm. They have space for that since always. It's not more usual than before because now it's more safer to keep the coffee in like these huge cooperatives. They have like insurance and stuff like that.
And guards, security.
Yeah, everything. But farmers have a condition to do that. And thinking about how this affects the farmers in short term, maybe not too much too, because of the last year's price, they have some money spare to some kind of emergency.
Yeah, emergency.
Yeah, emergency. So they could absorb some kind of this impact, which like 3 years ago, when the farmers are in a huge crisis in prices, they need to sell the coffee no matter the prices
Right.
they have. Now they have more conditions to take
Speculate
the coffee
a little bit.
A little bit. It's very risk. Most of the farmers, small and medium farmers, I know already sell all the beans
Wow.
before that, but the huge ones are keeping some because
Yeah.
they have more conditions to speculate, because they have more money to keep it in order to not sell the coffee to pay the bills in certain ways. But the small and medium farmers, it's really hard to me to go in a farm and they say, I have still coffee for 2025 season. They already sell almost, the small ones almost sell everything. They need the money, they do not risk as much. So the issue for me, it will be in medium term. If this crisis goes to maybe into August, if we still in this tense scenario, for me, will be a time to worry what will be the exportation, the fertilizers, the energy. Then everything will impact the coffee farming in Brazil and the coffee chain in Brazil.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for letting us giving us a clearer picture of exactly what we can expect from what's happening. In the next episode, folks, we're going to talk about how a few elements, things like genetics and tech and these kind of irrigation and more of those different kinds of elements, how they're affecting coffee production in Brazil. As you all know, agriculture all over the world is having to adapt to some significant and rapid changes in climate and other things. So how are these different elements of growing coffee and technologies playing a role in coffee production in Brazil? So join us for the third episode of this series. Peace, love and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. If you enjoyed this episode, consider supporting Map It Forward, our guests and advertisers on social media. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment and share this episode with a friend. And if you'd like to support our work more directly, become a paid premium YouTube subscriber or Patreon backer to get early access to the show ad-free directly to your inbox each week. You can find links in the show notes.